Okay, let me see if I can figure out how to work this now. Page 1. Okay, and this is what we've gone over in the past in great detail. And this is old. This is what the Tello uses. But what we're using is technology from probably 10 years ago because it's easy, it's cheap, and so on. The reason it's cheap is because we move forward so fast. We have two channels that everybody's using in the house, 2.4 gigahertz and 5.8. We've gone over that in great detail. What we haven't gone over is there are a lot of channels there in your Tello, and any of your devices are fighting to find a channel, an open channel. Okay? So you see there you have about 13 channels. The problem is, we talked about that before, way back when we talked about robots and the race channel. There's only 3 channels that are not what they call overlapping. So in actuality, in 2.4, you only have 3 channels you can use, 1, 6, and 11. If not, that means that I might have a device that's going to upset your frequency or take over control of your drone. Same as in the robot. And you sure don't want somebody taking over control of your drone if you're in a race, right? So that's the first thing you've got to get in your head is that there's only 3 channels on a 2.4. And that's one of the problems we're having so many troubles with the Maverick Mini and the Tello. Okay, we go, works one day, it doesn't work the next day. We go into a gym, Cavalsa school, and only 1 out of 3 working. That's because everybody is fighting for the same thing. It's like trying to get in Walmart now. We're trying to get in HEB. We've got blockades up. You stand in line so far apart. So that's one of the things we'll get to is waiting time. But anyway, it's channel 2.4. The other one is 5.8. Tello does not use that. Most of the things we're going to be doing, that other you've got doesn't use it, and so on. So let's go down to the next slide. Any questions on that? Alex?
No.
Okay. That shouldn't be too hard up there. Now, the other problem that you're getting into, and we're in it like or not, we're in a global economy. That means that we have stuff in our house that came from Germany, came from Japan, came from Korea, came from China, and so on. So the primary global economies is China right now is leading the world. Second to that is Japan. Third is a little country, South Korea. And then comes the United States. Then after that comes a few more. The drone industry is paired from France. Germany is making some fairly good products in the drone world and the Wi-Fi world. So we're not just talking drones, we're talking Wi-Fi. So here we got again the 2.4 gigahertz band and the 5 gigahertz. If you look at the 5 gigahertz, you'll see that you have 12 non-overlapping channels. That's why we move forward. They want more speed, they want more bandwidth, and they want more channels. So right now we're up to AC. Soon coming is A and X. So a lot of people that don't want to learn this are going to have to start learning some of it or their devices won't work. It only makes things so, we call dumbing them down so far. Here's something, I was working with Brody on his lessons for school, and they were teaching how to measure in centimeters and millimeters. Again, United States is a lazy country. We use what is called the imperial system, which is feet, the foot of some king of England that we never even heard of. Gallons, none of it is scientific. None of it is mathematics. Someone like music using the ABC system. Somebody dreamt it up and it's here to stay. So And one of the problems is, I think I told you, in your world, you have to learn down to a minimum of the 10 to the minus 6 power. That's 1 million down below 1. I have to learn, and you do too, a minimum of up to 10 to the 6 power. That's 1 million, 1 million pounds, 1 million this, $1 million. So in your learning process, this gets very complicated because most science works with zeros. They like the decimal system. It makes sense. In our world, we have to live the world that we're in, the scientific world, the engineering world, and most of Europe. They're on the metric system. That means lots of zeros. Pretty soon, your mind cannot comprehend that many zeros. In the computer world, we're up to mega, giga, tera, right? You've all heard those terms. A lot of your hard drives now are up to tera. Mega, giga is generally speaking around 1 million. So when you go down very low, if you have a million minus, you have an awful lot of zeros to work with. You come to the possible where what this slide says it's ridiculously impossible. Your mind can't do it. So what they have designed is systems to make it easier. So to measure the frequency of all these devices, and that you're going to have to know how far your router will send a signal, how far the kilo will send a signal, and then the next step is to do extenders, like I've got in my house. I've got a big house. We have to send that signal out to the camper. So if you look there, what they've come up with for radio and Wi-Fi is a way to measure the strength of the signal. So what they've done is taking the signal strength, okay, and put it into an easier to use measure. Just like last week, Brody was measuring with inches. Now he has to transfer a foot to a yard to a meter. So it's the same thing here, but this makes it easy. So most of the things in the Wi-Fi world, you are down to a little m and a big W, a milliwatt. And that's 1/1000th of a watt. So if you multiply that by 10 or 100 or 1,000, you can see you've got an awful lot of zeros. The bottom line is our human mind, most can't do that. So what they've done here, if you look at the slide, it doesn't go all the way down, and they have turned 1 milliwatt. And think how a 0 on one scale equals a 1 on the other scale. So on the dBm, decibel, dBm, okay, now that's not dB like in the radio world. This is a dBm. It's the measure of a milliwatt. It starts at 1. And then you have a scale there. You can see what the scale does. If you go on the left side, it goes to minus 40 dBm. And that's 100 milliwatts. So we said 1 milliwatt is 1/1000th. So that's times 100, add another 2 zeros, and add another 2 zeros. So the bottom line is you don't even want to write that on a piece of paper. So you write 100 milliwatts, and what they've done is make it easy. So now it equals 40, minus 40 dBm. And you probably, have you gone over logarithmic scales at all in school, math? Yes,
What?
a logarithmic scale. Okay, if you take an XY axis, if you got a piece of paper, write down an XY axis. And you draw a straight line. That's linear. So we talked about music. A440 is A4. Go down to A3, it is 220. If you go up to A5, it's 880. That's a linear scale. The problem is not all scales go straight line. A lot of scales go in a curve, and that's what they call logarithmic. So you'll have log tables you'll have to start working with fairly soon. And all that does is they take a curve and turn it into a straight line for whatever you're dealing with. You're dealing with sound or music or whatever. I don't know what happened, Alex, but you got cut off there. Well, Lisa, you still there?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, I'm not sure what happened to Alex, but he got cut off, so I'll just go on. Okay, the problem is, just like anything else, you've got to measure something. So when you're cooking in the kitchen, you have teaspoons, you have tablespoons, and you have all kinds of devices. You're gonna make a cookie or cake, you put in so much milk and so much butter and so much this, and then you need to bake it at 200 or 300 degrees Fahrenheit. You've got to measure that with a thermometer in the oven or a thermometer in the meat. So the same thing with working in this world of electronics, Wi-Fi. You've got to measure something or it ain't going to work. You're only buying so much bandwidth and you're paying for it. If you want more, faster, better, you're going to pay more. Okay. So here you see what I'm paying. This is on my phone. So we're going to go over some systems not on the phone. This is probably one of the better ones. So if you can somehow get a phone with this, it's called Wi-Fi Analyzer. I don't know if it'll work on a tablet or not, but it should work on any Android device. Get it and put it on that device. And here you can see the dBm. It starts at -20 and it goes to -80. Now, the reason we're working so far down is that if all these channels have equal and a lot of power, you're going to overwhelm it. So with the football team, you want that. You want a lot of big guys and heavy guys on the front of the line. Those other heavy guys can't come through. So what they do is lower it down, which is what we kind of do in sound. The sound is too loud, people ain't going to like it. Fortissimo is loud. Pianissimo is soft in music. So they lower it way down. So you can see here, this is my Wi-Fi system, and it's operating at a -52 dBm. That's why the other chart I showed you started at 40, -40. So you're really way down in the milliwatts. And this is where an EKG is. Alexa, when we start working with the EKG and put those things on your arm and leg, which we've done before, or measure it, we're measuring electricity that's way, way down there. So this is megatext. You see that in the red?
Yes.
Next comes the MAC number. For the time being, we're not going to use MAC numbers because they're all hexadecimal. You have to do a lot more learning on hexadecimal. The school's not going to teach you that at all. Next one down is the speed. I have 500 85 megabytes per second. Don't know what you got, but you need to find out what you've got. With speed comes a few other things. But anyway, 500 is really up there. However, I'm paying for that. I'm paying for a good price. Somewhere it starts probably around 100, goes up to 200, maybe 300. 500 is the fastest probably we can get here. Now, if we go into fiber optics where Travis is, we can get speeds that are unbelievable, but they're not in clean for the average user yet. Underneath there is what we're working on, the IP address, okay? As I said, the most common one you probably have in your house, and you just gotta learn this because everywhere you go, this is gonna be common. Then 198 is gonna be the same on almost all consumer devices. 168 will almost be the same. But then depending on you and the power user you are, the next number is going to change. For most of you, it's going to be 0 in the 2.4 gigahertz range. The next one is going to be 0.1. Your router probably will always start at 1. Okay? Got that so far?
Okay.
Now you can see mine there is not 1. It's 117. And I think I've told you before, Travis set mine up into the mesh network, and most of those numbers at 5.2 megahertz are 100 up. So when you set up this router, you're going to tell it what numbers to give it. We've already done that. And you have to know what that range is. Okay, we'll go down to the next one. That's one screen. Down at the bottom, there's a second screen. You see 4 little black things down at the bottom. So you got 4 ways to figure out. The first one is just a measuring device. You just measure it like a spoon, a cup, a tablespoon. This one measures all of your devices in your area. So you can see there, the first one I've got is on channel 11. The next one is on channel 6. Skip 1, and it's on channel 1. So more than likely, those are the 2.4 megahertz ones. If we go to the 5, more than likely, that channel will be a different number. But we've already said, what channels can you use? 1, 6. Here's the next screen. This screen tells you with a little thing like this, or circle, however it's going to come up. You can see here little pyramids, and they're stacked. A little dark. One in the middle is way up here. This is DBM again, okay? That's the best one I've got. That's the router in my house. There, from there on, you go down. This one is down from there, this one is down. Plus, this will bring up all my neighbors. So the bottom line is, I can read what my neighbor is doing. I can't get into it unless I can get their password. We've talked about hacking in the past. Okay, it says running out of time, so let's see what it does to me.
Says remaining.
And it's interesting that it says I have 2 meetings going now at the same time. Probably have the first one going that it gave me trouble. The reason I was having trouble, I never had that before, is somehow it didn't understand what I was putting in. So it had my end time before my start time, and it would not accept it. And I didn't put it in like that, but somehow the computer in the sky got it wrong. Okay, let me bring something else in.
Because he hasn't done that.
Okay, do you see this one?
Yes.
Okay. Depending on your computer, I don't know if you can get that in, but this is a pretty high-powered analyzer too. This is one that Travis uses called Angry IP. Okay. So what it does, it starts down at the bottom and works its way all the way up. And it gives you the IP and the information related to your IP. This is where the problem with the TILOs are. And again, it's just the way China is doing it. They're giving the TILO a name, and they're giving it an IP address for all the TILOs, all the same. Well, that's fine, except when you want to fly 50 TILOs. They can't have all the same number or address. Like I'm Dan Cott, I've got a serial number, social security number. You have a social security number. You can only have one social security number, not have another. But when you're working with this Wi-Fi system, what they do is they make that last number 0.1, 0.2, 0.100, 0.200, whatever. So you can get lots of them into a 192.168.0. Alex, you should remember this. What is the IP for the Tello that China has made? If not, you need to write it down and get it in your memory.
103.
192.168. Dot what?
Dot 103.
Dot what?
103.
Good, good. 10. It's not 1, it's not 0, it's 10. And then you have another dot. What's that one?
That's
Okay. And this is where it gets complicated. All of these are addresses. So, for example, I live on 907 Moss Circle. But Killeen might have a 907 Moss Drive or a 907 Moss Street. And just that little difference makes a difference. So that second number there is going to make a difference. In my system here, which I just showed you, my second number, because of the way the router is set up, is 117. For the TILOs, it's 10. For your house system, it is 0. And this is where it gets complicated. In that the way computers are set up now, you can only get on one IP at a time. And that's a problem. Now, that IP can have a lot of devices on because we've named them 1 to 100 or 100 to 200. But if there's only one Wi-Fi channel out of your house, that isn't enough for what we want to do, or what we want to do with Tellos, or actually your Wi-Fi system. So now let me bring up another one, and hopefully you do have this one on your computer. This is Wi-Fi Analyzer. And this is the only one that you have that will probably work on all of your devices. I'm sorry, not Wi-Fi Analyzer. That's one on my phone. This is Wi-Fi Info View. And all of you should have downloaded this. So what I've got here, I've just brought up the usable channels in my house. Let me go back to options, full detail, and you can see I have probably 50 different ones there. The first 20, 10 or so are of no value. So it starts here. Here's Fisher. That's my neighbor that lives two houses away from me. Here's Dude Dog. He lives a few houses away from me. So I'm getting their signals. And this tells me what I need to know. First of all, I don't want to know their signal. So that's what if I go to channels, I can cut out all that junk. But if I'm building a Wi-Fi system that I want to go down to Ellison High School, I do need to know this. And my signal in the past, at least my granddaughter says, does go down to Ellison High School. She can pick up some of my stuff there. And I can pick up on here as far as the fire station up there by the hotel. And here's the first Mecca one that comes up. So again, can you bring this up on your computer now, Alex? Wi-Fi info view.
No.
Why not? Have you got it on the computer?
No, I'm downloading it right now.
Okay. So Elisa, let me follow through here while he's doing that. The first one here is Mechatex. Anything Mechatex is mine. Okay. There's all kinds of other ones. Jones, Carry Silver, Living Room, Hotspots. I don't really care about any of those. Mechatex I do. The first thing here is the MAC address. This is where the problem is. Just like we speak English, the German speaks German, Japanese speaks Japanese, Chinese speaks Chinese, and Korean speaks Korean. Not everybody's going to use the same number. Social Security people really don't care about my name. They care about my number. So when you're making money and you pay income tax, they don't care about Elisa. They care about your Social Security number. Because you'll find Nadine's mother's name was Marie Smith. Bring up May Smith, you might find 500 of them in the United States. That's why the number is a little bit more definitive. So we're not going to get into that because again, it's not a decimal, it's a hexadecimal. But it does tell me there that my system there for that particular device, AP, is operating at 802.11.g.n. Well, now we started back in 1997 around that with B, A, G, N. So we're still way back, maybe in 2010.